the cars are on that driveway. Never seen anything like it. There were 7 Bugattis there, 4 Ferrari LaFerraris, probably like
What the fuck?
almost a dozen Paganis.
Have you ever seen that YouTube video of like the prince from another country in the LaFerrari and he's just wrecking it everywhere?
Yeah, the dude in Beverly Hills, the yellow one, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, but he has like police immortality or something.
Yeah, he got, so that they couldn't charge him. All they could do was just say you're not allowed back at the hotel. So they just told him he couldn't park his cars nearby where it was, and that's all they could do. And he just went to a different hotel and parked in there. It was so
what
fucking
the
funny.
hell?
But no, this place in Connecticut was insane. There was so his LaFerrari was yellow, and it's a pretty rare car in that color. There were 2 yellow LaFerraris in this one driveway.
Dude, what the hell?
And this was like.
Awesome. All right, so we're live. What's up, bro?
What up, bro? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So I got Andy Thompson. Thompson or Thompson?
Thompson.
Thompson.
Although I've been called the Thomper before, so
Thomper.
whatever you want to do.
Okay. That's hilarious. Been called the Thomper. So, Andy, you grew up in Downers Grove.
Yeah, correct. I was born about probably like 10 minutes from here, just up the street actually, over at Good Sam. Lived in Downers Grove my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was kind of just like, you know, like the average like upbringing, but it was just like, I definitely like acquired my passion for cars and photography, which is mainly what we're here to talk about. As I grew up, it wasn't something I just like was instilled with my parents like growing up, because neither of them are photographers.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been in the car scene then for how long?
I've been in the car scene for just over 5 years now. I made my Instagram page in June of 2016, which I didn't really like know anybody in the area. I just kind of like, I just bought my first DSLR camera, and I just like had like zero experience with like shooting cars like professionally. Yeah, you can probably pull it up. Show some people.
Now, Chi-Town Exotics, that's your Instagram page.
Yes,
is that what you typed in immediately?
That is what I chose immediately. I didn't choose it with the intention of like having become some big page someday. It was just like, you know, I'm from the Chicago area. I'm not from a city, of course. People from the suburbs love to say they're from a city, but I wasn't from a city when I made it. But it was just like, you know, I'm from the Chi-Town area, and I shoot mainly exotics. I'll shoot anything, but mostly like supercars and hypercars are kind of my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And so Chi-Town Exotics was just a name that for some reason wasn't taken. I was kind of surprised by it. I was like, I may as well take it for myself.
So how old were you when you created the page?
14.
14 years old? Okay, cool. So what's the difference between a supercar and a hypercar?
It's a debate that's ongoing a lot with a lot of different cars, but the main thing that I would say is that it comes down to a mix of like power and production numbers. Like the biggest example, without getting too nerdy into car talk, is probably the new Ford GT. If you're familiar with those?
Well, I watched Ford versus Ferrari, so that's about my familiarity.
Okay, so then yeah, it's kind of just like with the new version of that car from that movie, basically.
I think I saw one. Keep going. I think I saw one. I'm gonna show you and see if I'm right.
Yeah, you probably are. There's several of them in the area. But the biggest debate with those is that because they are pretty powerful. You know, they got like, I think around 700 horsepower, if I'm not mistaken. But they built quite a few of them. They built over 1,000 of them. And that's kind of something that's like, well, it's a powerful car, but it has a V6, and it's also not like very rare in terms of like some cars can be.
That's it?
That is a Ford GT. It's not the newest one, but that is a Ford GT. Yes.
Okay. So power versus production kind of separates. Are there other like big, I don't know, classifications for cars other than supercar, hypercar?
Well, there is such thing as a mega car, but there's only like 1 or 2 cars that do that, because that comes down to power to weight ratio. The best, it's like basically like where's 1 horsepower for 1 kilogram. Like when there's like over 1 horsepower per kilogram, that's you can call it a mega car.
What would be a mega car?
Koenigsegg 1-to-1 is the best example. And there's only one of them in North America, and it's actually in the Chicago area. Funny story, I've shot that one, and I guess that's kind of one of the things we can talk about today.
Oh my god!
But that's kind of the classification for a mega car. But there's like, that's like above a hypercar, but there's so few of them that's like, people hear that word and they think it's made up, but there's actually like a reason for that. There's no debate for what a mega car is.
Now, can you drive a manual?
Not yet. That's one of my biggest shortcomings so far. Is I've been shooting cars for like 5-6 years, and I have not learned how to drive manual yet.
Now, with you know, the luxury cars, when they're manual, I heard the other day, is it true, like, is it the shift pads? Is that what it is?
Like a paddle
shifters? For like or does some of them have the actual like stick shift or whatever?
Very few of them these days come with an actual manual. I think Porsche and Aston Martin are 2 of the last brands that are doing that, but I'm not very up to date on that.
My buddy just had a GT3R. I don't think it was the RS. Is that right?
Just a GT3. It's the base GT3.
GT3? I think he just had a Porsche GT3 then, because I don't think it was an RS. It could have been an RS. but it was sweet. It was sweet, and I think it was manual.
I think some of them came with the manual. It's mostly the PDK, which Porsche says
Maybe
like it's supposed
maybe it
to,
wasn't. I don't know, but it.
I mean, there's some that have manuals, but there's also the PDK, which is like supposed to feel more like a manual because you do shift it yourself.
Yeah.
But it's just like a dial in the center console, so it's not quite a full manual, but it could be possible to get an actual manual.
Now, can you think back and be like, man, I love like what's got you into cars?
I can, and it's like one of the probably like one of the just the craziest like experiences in terms of just like random stuff that's happened. So when I think it was like 2011 roughly. I was driving in the area with my dad. Like I was in the passenger seat, he was driving, and there was like this really loud engine that blew by us on the highway. And so many times you hear like loud engine, it's like, oh, that guy needs a new muffler. He's driving some like shitty old Prius. But this time it was like actually like a really nice engine sound. And my dad was like, I think I know what that is. And as it drove by us, it turned out to be a Ferrari F40, which if you look it up, it's the last Ferrari that was designed when Enzo Ferrari was still alive, and they built like just over 1,000 of them, I think.
Okay.
And just like my dad was like super excited about that car, and just the fact that like he was like getting excited about it and like it sounded really good, like that's kind of what made me want to get more into them.
Yeah.
And then I saw we were just driving by the Bolingbrook Promenade about 2 years later, and we saw that same car parked up like in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And being able to get up close to it, like seeing it drive by was cool. But, like being able to get up close to it and appreciate it. And like the owner was really cool. And just like seeing that there was like such a passion that was able to be had like by everybody who was seeing this car, because it had a massive crowd around it. It was like, it was that car that got me into it. So 2011, 2013.
How quickly did you get a camera and create your page after seeing the car?
It was actually quite a delay because I didn't want to buy necessarily a full-on camera. That was kind of something my parents like cautioned me from. So I would just take my cell phone to shows because, you know, they want to be more sensible with money and stuff like when you're younger, because a DSLR at that point is a big investment when you're 13, 14. Like it's 500 to 600 bucks is no joke. Yeah. Obviously. So I would just kind of take my cell phone. You know, I would go to shows in the area, wouldn't make a huge production out of it. But then in December 2015, I said to my dad, I was like, okay, like if I get a bunch of money for Christmas, I've got some stuff saved up in my bank account, but it's like a little left over. Can I buy a full-time camera? And he was like, okay, sure. And I'd been shooting for about 6 months on that camera, nothing too special because obviously like it's a starter camera. I'm new to photography. But I made the page in June 2016. I decided to make it that day because the very first Koenigsegg that had ever been delivered in the area was a 2008 CCXR. It turned out to be the last time the guy would ever drive it before selling it, so I got lucky there. But he drove it out to a show over in Barrington, which is like a northern suburb in the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. He drove it out in the rain, and that wasn't the coolest experience because I went out to that show thinking like, oh, I made a mistake coming here, you know, wasting my Saturday morning. Yeah. There's nobody in the area who's going to be out, and there's just a freaking Koenigsegg sitting in the lot. And having shots of that thing in the rain as it was pulling away, it was like I have to share these somehow. And I was like, well, I can't post them on like normal car spotting.
Who had the Koenigsegg?
Some guy up in Barrington. I've never met the family. I know quite a few people with cars of that caliber in this area, but I've never figured out who that was. Yeah. And like I haven't heard of him buying anything crazy since then. I think that's kind of the last crazy car he bought. But that was certainly the first time that I was really okay, I have to share my photos somehow because this is such a cool experience that like I want to share my passion with the world. I had no intention of like creating some big name for myself. I was like, it's a passion project. I just want to start it and see where it goes. And I mean, there's obviously like a lot in between then and now, but sitting here 5 years later, if you'd have told that 14, 15-year-old kid after seeing that car, like the making that page was going to be what it's turned into now, I would have said you were crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. Now, what's your favorite car?
My favorite car actually is the F40, not just because of that, but also because just like there's something just special about it. Like it seems to be one of those few cars that like whenever any big car guy sees one, he gets excited about it. Yeah, like it's from that age where cars were still more analog. Like they weren't like everything now is like computer, so it doesn't feel like you're driving the car. It feels like you're just like helping the car go along. Yeah. Whereas back in the 80s, there was like the F40 is super stripped out. Like there's no technology in it. It's a true manual. Like you row your own gears, and it's just like this. It sounds great, drives great, supposedly, depending on who you ask. It looks great, and there's enough of them in the area. It was like I think just like 4 or 5. So you see them every year or two, and it's like they're rare enough to keep you after them, and it's also you get to see them and appreciate them.
There's a nice I work out here at Lifetime Oak Brook. There's a nice black Ferrari that'll come there, and it's got like yellow trim in the wheels. Black. It's just I don't know what Ferrari it is, but and you've probably seen so many Ferraris around the area.
I definitely have, which is not something like, again, I haven't gotten desensitized to
I
them,
see
but
so many
I've seen.
G-Wagons.
Oh, G wagons are popular around here.
So
Everybody wants a
popular,
G-Wagon.
dude. Everybody's got a G. Now, the one's my favorite is the one with the Brabus kit. Like when they have a Brabus
Yeah,
kit
it was
on.
actually funny you talk about Lifetime Oakbrook. One of my friends was there last week and texted me a picture of a Brabus he
Yeah.
saw in the
Yeah,
parking lot.
the dude
Yeah.
always has a. I don't know who it is. There's Brabus. You'll see some Rolls Royces, some
Oh, yeah.
Bentleys. But obviously now that it's getting like colder and like wetter, the those nice cars aren't coming out. So you like the F40. Now, growing up for you, like, what was? I always like to know how people kind of like what was growing up for you like. You know what I mean?
I mean, growing up for me, it was like, I mean, I don't want to sound too cliche, but it was like, it was pretty average. I mean, like, I didn't come from a family that was like doing crazy stuff. I didn't come from a family that was like, like super poor. We were like, we're very middle of the line.
Yep.
Like, it's like the traditional, like, suburban upbringing kind of. Like,
So your mom's an accountant, right?
Yeah, my mom she works payroll for a big dentist office, and then my
Okay.
dad works, like I was saying earlier, at some big company
Yeah.
down in the south suburbs. I don't remember the name of it for the life of me.
Yeah.
But he just does like, he deals like a bunch of big international clients selling like copper cables and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I don't know much of the details
Yeah.
on that. But yeah, so they were working like not crazy job, like like they pay the bills and then some.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're not like I'm like a trust fund baby or anything like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like super crazy. Like
Yeah.
I know some people who are through what I've done, but
Yeah.
no, it wasn't anything super crazy. I
Yeah.
just kind of like I learned that one of the things they did teach me was that like hard work
Yeah.
is obviously somewhere that will get you like do something that will get you far. And I also kind of learned like through
Did you get that from both of them or one in particular?
I would say my mom more than my dad because like my mom was like around more to tell me that. When I was
Yeah.
younger, my dad was like working crazy hours downtown in the city, and it's like she'd be the one around more to like help
Yeah.
out. And then something that I also learned from both of them, as well as like running cross country both in high school and college, like
Sweet.
if you want something hard enough,
Yeah.
like go out there and work for it, and
Love
you'll
that, yeah.
eventually be able to get it in some way, shape, or form. And even if it doesn't work out how you want, you might learn things along the way and meet new people along the way as well.
So what do you think was like your most impactful memory as a kid growing up?
Up until what age, or do you mean like before I had the page?
Probably before you had the page and then after.
I think one of the most impactful memories that I had growing up was just like the fact that when I started to get into cars, like my dad and my grandpa as well, because my grandpa used to own a couple Porsches himself. Like they were
Yeah.
just like really supportive of it, obviously to an extent. Like they don't want me like being consumed by it, but
Yeah.
they were very supportive of it. And they told me like if I wanted to let that passion go somewhere, they'd be behind me 100%. And just like knowing even at like 11 or 12, when like I just had a cell phone and was taking pictures, like knowing that they would be behind me if I
Yeah.
kept it within reason, where it's like I don't want to do something every single weekend.
Yeah.
Just knowing that I had the support of them like behind me the entire time was like
Yeah.
definitely really huge.
That's
And it's just
insane.
like that kind of like like pushed me to keep going with that.
Now, and then leading into you then creating the page, you're 14, you figure, so you're just turned 20?
I turned 20 in September. Yeah,
Okay, what's your birthday?
September 2nd.
Mine's the 25th, September 25th. Yeah, so
September's a good month.
it's a great month. It's a great month. Okay, so when did you make your first dollar? Like when did you like make your first like, hey, look, you're paying me for this?
Actually, the very first photo shoot I ever did. If you're gonna edit this like or something online, I can send it to you. I did a photo shoot with a guy who had a Ford Model A out in New York. I was on vacation with my family, and I was out with my grandpa. Actually, no, I was out with my uncle, not my grandpa, driving in his Porsche.
Yeah.
And we parked like a boat dock by them. And I was like by their house, and I was just like, there was this really nice like old Ford from like the 1920s sitting there. And I just like, I took a photo of it on my camera, and the guy saw me and he was like, hey, show me that photo. And so I did. And he was like, it looks pretty good. If you email it to me, I'll give you a 20 right now. And I was like, okay, like I'm just a kid on vacation, not trying to make any money, but
Yeah.
he just said that to me, and obviously like that's a very rare occurrence. You don't just usually
Yeah.
meet people in parking lots and they say,
Hell
hey,
no.
send me one photo, I'll give you $20. But
Yeah.
he was a very nice guy, and that was like the first dollar I ever made. But that wasn't necessarily when I like decided I was gonna like take it further. It's just like that was the first time where it did happen.
That's sweet. When was your first like big check?
My first big check. I did a photo shoot for a guy in Naperville. He has a Ferrari 458. That I think it was like November 2017. It was my very first time shooting on a tripod. Like he'd seen my work in the day. He was like, I want to do something at night, because like he just wanted to like see what I could do, and he was more like just willing to support me as I was growing, because like
Yep.
I'd met his daughter through something at school,
Yeah.
And so he was like, you know what, like she's told me a little bit about like kind of what you're doing. He's like, you know what, I want to see what you can do, you know, kind
That's
of be the
dope.
first person to help you out with
You
that.
made some money and went on a date.
No, I did not go on a date, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, she's kind of hot, but
Yeah.
I did not go on a date, but I did shoot with his car. And you know those shots came out all right.
Yeah.
And so he gave me $75 for that, which at that time was like astronomical. Because like
Yeah.
at that point, I mean, I don't call myself a pro now. Because
Yeah.
like I never like calling myself a pro because like it just
Yep.
sounds like, oh, you have like a big
Now,
ego.
where did this
But,
humility come from?
well, it's just like it's the fact that on Instagram you see so many people these days who like they think like their content is what makes them, and like
Yeah.
it's really not. Like they post like I post supercars and hypercars frequently because like I like how the shots look because that's
Yeah.
like I shoot them so often, like I just have a chance to like get creative shots of them. But
Yep.
there are people who post those cars like religiously because they think that's what's going to get them the engagement, that's going to make them look good. But
Yeah.
it's not about, you know, the caliber of the car you're shooting. It's about like how you come off as a person. I always like to come off as a very like drama free, like just like, you know, humble. I guess humble guy.
So
like,
where did that come from? Like who inspired you to develop into humility? Is it something you read? Is it like
honestly, it's more like I was getting to that in a second. It's more just like I kind of noticed that because like there's so many guys at the top, so quote unquote, who like they have like very big egos and they just kind of like are very like full of themselves, like, oh, I know I'm working with the best stuff in the area. And it's like, well, I am working with some of the best stuff in the area, but I don't want to come off as a guy who's like flaunting that because I'm just willing to look at, you know, a guy who like you who has like an F-type versus a guy who has like a Koenigsegg up at the top.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like just because your car may be, you know, unfortunately your car may be a bit slower. Sorry, man.
Way slower.
Unfortunately, you know, it's like you're a cool guy. Like it's been,
Yeah.
even though you only have an F-type, like I prefer to make more relationships more. I don't
Yes.
care about the content as much, but so many guys do, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where the humility comes from because it's like if that's the kind of person you are, you're gonna attract like nicer people, and you'll be able to form more meaningful relationships, even just
Absolutely,
through
bro.
shooting photos.
Absolutely. And having that mindset at your age, I can promise you is going to make you, it's all in regard to how you measure success, but inevitably you can't be as humble as you are, as nice as you are, and seek to build value in relationships and not make a lot of money. It's just impossible. I've seen it in my industry. I've seen it in my own business. And it's always been, if we were to measure finances, it's always been like my success financially has always grown when I've found ways to, in a sense, find more humility in myself, but expressing that in relationships and building the value in those relationships is you can't go wrong with it. So like seeing that is like it's awesome to see, and it's just awesome. Like I knew right away when we talked yesterday, basically, or in the last few days and set this up.
Yeah,
I was like,
sometime less 48 hours, like 2 days
Yeah,
ago.
set
This time
this
I
up.
didn't even know who you were. You messaged me like Wednesday afternoon. Now
yeah,
here we
bro,
are.
exactly. So then I was like, we're for sure gonna hit it off, and so $75 into. And that was 3 years in.
That was
so
3 years ago,
people
yeah.
don't see like the process because you started 2014, your first big check, which is $75 in 2017. Now we're in 2021, going into 2022. So you figure in 2 years you're going to be 10 years in business.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Which is
So-
pretty insane to think about.
And that's an overnight success. It's 10 years of, oh man, his stuff looks so great now. But it's like, look back 10 years ago to like who was there supporting you, like how many
Yeah.
followers did your page have 10 years ago? 30, 40, so, and it's like, and those are mostly like friends and family. to
Exactly.
now,
Or
like,
it's
what
like
you've
the
grown it
one
to.
or two nice guys I meet at a show. It's like, oh yeah, I'll shoot you a follow. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's one more. I mean,
Yeah.
again, but the other thing I want to stress is like, I've never like really cared about following. It's not that I don't appreciate every
Yeah.
single person who interacts with my page, but like
Yeah.
I don't go out again like looking to get followers to what I'm doing. Cause
Yep.
like, I mean, you can have like 100 followers, you can have 6,000, which I'm fucking getting near, which is insane.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like the following doesn't matter if you're not, the right person for it. Or
Exactly.
like if you don't come off the right way.
Exactly. Absolutely. So as you continue to build your career, I'm trying to think now into like what's the coolest car or like coolest experiences you've shot and been involved in.
So the first cool experience, when I kind of touched on earlier, was shooting the Koenigsegg 1-to-1.
Yes.
Because there's only one of those in this in the country. Well, actually on this whole continent, like in North America, there's only one, and it's somehow based around Chicago. But the craziest story was like how I got involved with doing that. So summer 2019, I was at the Trump Tower.
Yeah.
I'd just been dropped off. My friend had his Porsche out. We just went for a little ride in it. And I'd never been in the garage before. He had to go up to his hotel room, and he was like, he didn't want me to follow him because this Trump security would have gotten mad because, he was president at the time. So those hotels were like locked down basically.
Yeah.
And so I'm in this garage. I have no idea how to get out. And there was like this probably like 15, 16-year-old kid with his mom in the garage. And they seemed to know what they were doing. So I go up to them and, I just asked him like how to get out of the garage. And he was like, hey, that's a nice car you just got out of. He saw I had a camera. And so he was like, do you have an Instagram? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so he followed me and we kind of like exchanged, numbers and Instagram, just like started talking.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, he went to the big Ferrari dealership in the area, Ferrari Lake Forest, which is up north. And he happened to be there at the time when this one guy was taking one of his two Koenigsegg's out. He owns the one-to-one and a Regera, if you know what those are.
Yeah.
He took his Regera out for the very first time, or one of the first times, and this kid happened to be there doing rollers of it. And so he gets those shots, which is insane. And he like messages me out of it. I'm like, holy shit, that's insane. Like the guy never takes the car out, because I knew who the guy was, didn't know like much about him, or I'd never met him before. And then about like maybe 9-10 months later, like right when the start of COVID hit, the kid messages me. And he goes, I've been talking to this family more and more. And they were saying like they wanted to get this big YouTuber out called Stradman. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's got like 3.5 million YouTube subscribers. But at the time, he barely had like 2 million, I think.
Yeah.
And he basically, they wanted to do a big shoot with him. And so he got in touch with me and said, on behalf of the family, like they would be willing to pull something crazy, like one of their two Koenigsegg or something else, if you were able to get in touch with them somehow. And luckily, there was a guy on the East Coast who I'd done something big for earlier in the year. And he was like, if you ever need anything, just hit me up and I'll do one big thing for you. Well, he happened to know this big YouTuber. So I was like, hey, can you put me in touch with this guy? And so he did, which was amazing. And then we managed to get together a shoot. Me and this kid from Minnesota, who I'd met by chance a year and a half earlier, we managed to pull together the only time the one-to-one's ever been driven on public roads with this big YouTuber there. And the guy and his son were there to drive it. And it's like, if we hadn't met in Trump Tower a year and a half earlier, we never would have shot like one of the craziest cars on the planet.
So who was the owner of the car?
I don't want to say.
Yeah, you don't have to say.
I want to say his name. He's a big hedge fund guy up north.
Do you know his net worth? You don't have to say. Like,
he is a billionaire. He's a billionaire.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Now, is he the richest person you ever met?
Yes, not the richest person in the state, but he is the richest person I ever met. Yes.
So who's the richest person you've ever met? Him?
Yeah, him. Yeah.
Okay. And then did you say there was a richer person in the state?
Yes. His name is Ken Griffin. He is insane. He's like, you heard about the Wall Street Bets thing probably, where it's like the.
Wait, are we talking Ken Griffin like the base?
No. Ken Griffin, the big hedge fund guy, like Citadel. He manages like 60 to 65% of Robinhood transactions, like that whole like Wall Street's Bets stuff that happened like beginning of this year. He was like one of the big guys who went under fire for it.
Okay.
He's like a crazy car collector too.
Have you gotten any of his whips?
Oh no. I've never gotten in touch.
That's your next connection. Is who can you find that's got like some type of connection, and then bring them so much value where they're like, all right, I'll do one big favor. All right, here's Ken Griffin, dude. You're gonna do it. You know what I mean? With everything you've accomplished in the last 8 years, 7 years, imagine where you're gonna be another 10 years. I mean, well, before I jump to conclusions, what's your vision for the future?
My vision for the future. So I'm a sophomore in college right now at DePaul University, which I think Aiden goes to as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. What are you studying?
I am studying journalism.
Journalism. Aiden, what are you studying again?
I'm doing film and television.
Film and television.
Very good film program there. So journalism and film are two of our stronger programs. So that's going to be involved in.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm doing journalism.
Yes.
Because I've always liked writing, and I kind of like obviously want to keep my passion for photos going. So I think I might look into photojournalism, but. I mean, like you were saying, like as this like passion project I've been growing like on the side sort of has like blossomed into something I never thought it would become. Like the same kind of thing that you were saying. I was like, I'm thinking of that where it's like, how much further can I push this? Where it's like, it's become a passion project, but like, can I turn it into a business in some way?
Absolutely.
And I'm kind of leveraging that as I'm in college, like figuring out like, okay, like it's not about how many connections can I build, but I'm just thinking about like, okay, are there enough strong ones there where I can maybe leverage one of them into a career out of college versus doing something like journalism, which wouldn't be like menial because like I enjoy creative writing, I enjoy photography, but it's like I'm balancing like, do I want to pursue something with the degree I'm getting, or do I want to like have the photojournalism, side of it where it's like I can say, okay, I've taken photography classes and I've also got this great portfolio.
So how many hours do you think average a week have you been putting into your business for the last 8 years, if you had to average it out?
If I had to average it out, that would be actually a really insane question to answer. Cause like sometimes I'll have a set of photos. I'll take like 500, 600 photos from like a day or two, but I'll kind of already know the ones I want to go in and edit. So like I'll spend a couple minutes on like those 5 or 10, but there are other times where it's like, I don't know. And I'll spend as much as like 4 or 5 hours in one day sitting down and being like, okay, these are the ones I want to edit. And it's like, if I know who owns those cars, like, do I want to send them to them? Do I want to like DM them, text them? Like, how do I want to do that? And also, like, I'm just changing little things because I become a bit of a perfectionist, obviously. It's kind of like when you're around it for so much, you notice things after a while you wouldn't
Yeah.
notice before. And it's like, I just want to like, I do care about the way my images look. I don't care about how I come off as people in terms of like, I don't want to look like a certain way, but I do want my images to like look decent relative to the camera I have. And so like I'm spending time in Lightroom, like touching them up and like
Yep.
editing them and all that kind of thing.
Yep. So 10 years from now, if you can be in any position you could be, you know what I mean? There's no limitations, whatever. Where would you be?
I'd probably want to be like a photographer working with one of these big brands in the area, like whether it's like car related or not. Like I just want to like, one of the biggest things I like about photography is like seeing the results of it, like seeing a happy client afterwards. Like that just like
Yeah.
really like speaks to me because it's like you can see that like just like something that other people see it just like pressing a button, but for you, you know, you're making an impact on the other side there, and that's
Yeah.
one of those powerful things for me. It's like if I'm in a position where I'm able to make that happen for like one or more people
Yeah.
with like their major organization, like I can't even think of like where it'd be because I mean 5 years ago I didn't know I'd be here, and now in 10 years who knows.
Yeah.
But you know, I just like I see myself in a place where it's like if I can make, you know, a lasting like impact with some of the work I'm creating in like 5-10 years, that's where I want to be.
You know who I heard has a crazy collection, and it kind of complements, and I think about like where you want to be, and I'm already seeing it's like you don't what I've seen in business is it's not even really like the very intelligent individuals that have the most success, but it seems to be the most resilient, like the most relentless, just the people that never quit. So it's like there could have been other pages, and there absolutely was probably a million other pages, you know, built around cars or different things like that. The same time you built yours, and it's like people could be they don't realize how far they can be, and they will be, as if they just show up every day and do a little bit, you know what I mean, where some days you do 4 or 5 hours and some days it's 4 or 5 minutes, but you know, over the years it's compound interest. You know what I mean? The eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, is watching that thing grow and explode, where it's like maybe 3-4 years ago you didn't realize you'd be in the position you are in now.
Oh, definitely.
And 3-4 years from now you're going to be saying the same exact thing. But I think of like this crazy car collection, and I don't know like how many, I don't watch any shows, but I remember hearing, I believe it's Jay Leno,
Yeah,
has
he
a
is
massive,
insane.
like a massive car collection.
He has like I don't know how he like wakes up and decides he wants to drive in the morning. He has like 100 to 150 cars.
Insane.
I've never met anybody who knows him. I've seen so many videos, like you said,
Insane.
of his collection. But he's got like a $20 million McLaren F1. He's got like a McLaren P1. He's got some.
Dude,
like,
did you see this crazy
I
ass
did
comment?
see that comment.
I've never been gay. I got nothing against gay people. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's definitely no viewers. I'm flaming my team. I'm gonna see if that was one of them. They always say some crazy ass shit.
Anyway, so Jay Leno, he's got
Can you
he's got,
believe
he's got
this, Aiden? I got the TikTok facing him, and someone's like, I remember when you were gay.
you seemed happier back then. You seemed happier back then.
I'm looking at this. I was like, who the fuck? I'm gonna have to beat the shit out of somebody. I have nothing against gay people though. For this podcast, that has
Same here.
Yes. We're over here. So
Good
we're
to hear we're on the same page about that. So
Yes.
Jay Leno, his car collection is pretty insane. He's definitely like one of the big like American names, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because he's got like, you know, like I said, McLaren F1's kind of his like big thing. Like everybody
Yes.
knows what those are, because that was like up until the Bugatti Veyron came out.
Yep.
That was the fastest car in the world for like over a decade. And so that's
What's
kind
the
of
fastest car in the world now?
fastest car in the world right now is, I believe, the SSC Tuatara. It's something in the low 270s.
What brand is that?
It's actually an American company based out of, I think, either Washington or Oregon.
You're gonna have to send me a picture after
There's a
this.
funny story surrounding that, because they had a massive scandal last year where they somehow fudged like in-car footage to show they'd gone like 330 miles an hour, which is like astronomical performance figure. And so they averaged like 310 or something to beat the old record of like, you know, low 260s, high 260s, something like that. They blew a record out of the water by like 40 miles an hour. And so some insane YouTuber named Shmee150, who I've actually also met in the city, he did a massive like week-long story. Like every day he'd uncover more and more evidence. And it's pretty bold for somebody in his position to be going after like a major automotive brand, because he's one of the guys who like internationally, he'll be called out for all the big reveals, like Lamborghini, Bugatti, BMW, you know, Bentley. Like they'll invite him to see their new cars before before they even get revealed to the world. He'll make YouTube videos with them, hold them under embargo, and then release them. And so for him to be going after a brand like that, something has to be up.
Yeah.
And so they got like a huge scandal with that. But they actually did a new record attempt. They did it legitimately. They had multiple different like VMAX recorders there to see the speed, and they still broke the record, but it wasn't nearly as impressive. But that is the fastest car now.
Now, and I'm thinking of like these YouTubers. Now, who's the coolest person you've met though out of doing all of this?
What you mean coolest person? You mean like coolest like YouTuber, like
I mean,
celebrities? Like,
nah,
who do you...
I mean like you connected with, and they're like, dude, that's one of the coolest motherfuckers. Like this Steve guy gives me a really cool fucking vibe.
Steve and his collector manager Tommy are two really cool guys. But I would say like honestly, my favorite person I've ever met, and I don't know if this is something you'd be familiar with, Aiden. You ever seen a Cacciatore Stadium as a softball stadium over at DePaul and Lincoln Park?
Yeah, actually, I think I have.
So I was doing a photo shoot with this like car called a Porsche Carrera GT.
Okay.
It's like these days the market says it's worth $1.5 million, but that's bullshit inflation. It should be worth like, you know, high six figures, like low seven figures. It's not worth what it is worth today, but you know, whatever. The market will do what it does. But I was shooting one of those. This is the last thing I did before COVID, and it was like my senior year of high school. I was like about to like make my college decision, and I was kind of like, you know, the guy was asking me a little bit about, you know, myself, and like what I'd done. And I knew his last name was like Cacciatore, but I hadn't made the connection yet. And so I started talking about DePaul with him. It turns out that his grandfather was the guy who donated the money for DePaul to have that softball stadium built. And so
Wow.
like I'm sitting in the car. I knew who this guy was, but I had no idea that he was connected to that. And
Yeah.
like I told him that wasn't like my top choices academically. His eyes just lit up, and like for the entire rest of the day, he was telling me like some crazy stories about his time at DePaul.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if he's able to get this excited about it, and like he's able to be in a position where he owns a car like that, and he seems like the community, I was like, I mean, that's not the only thing that sold me on it, but
Yeah.
that's one of the big things that, you know, pushed me to go to DePaul. And he's a really cool guy. Like I just like whenever I have someone to talk to, like we'll just go back and forth.
That's dope. Now, what does he do himself?
So his family has a major real estate company in the city that they've had for I think over a century now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's Joseph Cacciatore and Co. Which like when you're driving into the city on I forget which highway it is. There's one major highway. Like when you're driving into the city, you'll always pass their building on the right.
Yeah.
Right before you go under. I don't remember the name, but I don't know the city very well despite living there.
Yeah.
Now for college, but like you'll see one of their buildings. They also have. If you've ever been in the city and seen that building that has like Kanye 2020 vision on the side, that's also one of his buildings. So he's like owns a couple like big buildings around the city.
Does he have any dope cars? I mean, the Porsche.
He's got the Carrera GT. He's got a Ferrari 458. He's got a Ferrari F8 coming in. They have an old Jaguar E-Type, and they're big on their old Corvettes as well. They have 3 or 4 old Corvettes that they like restore and like take
the 64.
Yeah, the 64. They I don't know if it's theirs or friends, but when I was with them the first time, there was a split window in one of their garages. If you know what those are, like the C2 split window, which
No.
a bit like
What is that?
Year. It's basically like the C2 Stingray body, which we can put a photo of up if you're gonna edit this for online.
Yeah, maybe we can note that down when you're editing it.
Yeah.
We could put some up on YouTube.
And basically, it's like they built a certain amount of these like Stingray style cars, like with like a line through the center.
Okay.
And it was just like a design thing they did, and people thought it was stupid back then, but now they're worth like crazy money, and they're involved with one of those now.
Did you ever watch the Dukes of Hazzard?
No, that's not a movie I've watched. No.
You know what I'm referencing car wise?
The General, is that a General Lee Charger? Is that the
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah, dude, those old Chargers, I love.
yeah.
Those are one of like my top 3 favorite cars. Like when I think of like, and I'm not as educated when it comes to cars
Yeah,
as you are,
of
but I have like general layouts of like my number one. I think it's Agera Koenigsegg.
Yeah, you want a Agera RS. Good luck
Yes.
finding those. There's 25 of them in the world, and they go
One
for
to-
a pretty penny now.
More than a 1-to-1.
The 1-to-1
is that?
as of last year. Well, first of all, the guy kind of has an advantage with that car because he doesn't drive it very often, but he can drive it a bit and know that he's not gonna mess up the value because there's only one on this continent.
Yeah.
There's only one built. Well, I don't know if there's 1 or 2 built in left-hand drive. But there's basically none built for this market. So he can kind of set the market on that. And as of last year, he said he wouldn't accept under $10 million for it. Like if there weren't 8 figures in the price, he wasn't gonna say yes.
Yeah.
But even still, I don't know that he would because that's one of the cars he's so attached to.
Yeah.
But an Agera RS these days goes for like 6 or 7 million probably.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's a lot of money, but like as the demand for those cars has gone up, and after they set the world record in 2017 for the fastest production car before SSC broke it, they had a lot of like fame related to that car. And so like any owner who had one of those, they're like, okay, I don't want to get rid of this. And if I am going to, you're going to give me your entire savings basically.
Dude, this dude in our company, he just had a rebuilt, I want to say it's an old Charger, but that would be like my next like go to. For me, I love the sound. So like on the F
Yeah,
Type,
the old V8 sound of an American car is just like,
it's like unbeatable, dude.
yeah, it's like it's just a sound like you'll never hear again as everything goes like electric and like full like green. You're never gonna see that again.
It's insane. And so here it is. I think it's a Chevelle. What is that? A Chevelle?
Yeah, it looks like a Chevelle SS. Yeah, is
And
that
so he had it all rebuilt.
Yeah,
And it's beautiful. So that's something I want to have in my collection one day. But
so I guess what are your? I mean, I'm asking the guy interviewing me some
Yeah.
questions. What are your top 3 dream cars? I guess
yeah, definitely the Koenigsegg. I don't even know if I say it right. So
it's Koenigsegg, but whatever.
Koenigsegg.
It doesn't matter.
And then, dude, honestly, I keep seeing this SVJ, and it's chrome gold wrapper out here.
I actually know if it's a wrap. That was a factory color. There were 2 of them that went through Perillo in that factory spec.
So I don't know who has it out here, but there's
Is it on Wisconsin plates?
it may have Wisconsin plates.
If it's got
maybe.
Wisconsin plates, that's the dude who won the lottery up in Wisconsin.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
And he just moved to Oak Brook?
No. But he rips his shit all around this area because he has a good relationship with the Lamborghini dealer in Ogden, which that's actually another company I've gotten very involved with over the years. Is the Perillo family.
Damn, dude. So my I guess like my old partner, he has a 720S, and his brother bought a Lamborghini through Perillo out here. The one right down the road, the Oak Brook Perillo.
Downers, yeah.
Yeah.
Downers Grove.
Yeah. So he bought he bought one of his first Lamborghinis off them. He's got I don't know what Ferrari he has, but he has a really big wheel shop. So they're out in Pittsburgh. So that's where I started selling insurance. Was out in Pittsburgh, and he's got a cool page for you to check out if you're ever out there. You
of course
shoot content, Wheel Connection. But I don't know. Sometimes he posts his Ferrari on here. I want to see what Ferrari he has because I want to say it's like a whatever the hell you keep saying.
458, 488.
458.
They've been building the same design for 12 years and just calling it different things. It's kind of pissing everybody off, but
this is the 720S, so that's my buddy's 720S.
Wow, got nice wheels on it.
Yeah, he's got
really
dope ass wheels on it. But with the F Type, with me liking like the sound,
yeah,
I ended up doing a resonator delete and a tune. It was a stage 1 tune.
Did you
it was so loud.
Did you put downpipes on it?
I didn't do nothing, just a res delete
Really?
and stage 1 tune, and it was one of I got pulled over at least 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months of having it here.
That's insane.
Like easily. And I just put a Magnaflow, and I'll show you on the way out the truck.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound that loud though. Like I don't know if I should have said, hey, look, I should have, but I don't care that much. What I'm going to try to get in the spring is I'm going to try to get an R8, or I'm going to try to jump up to like an older Huracan, see if I get, like I said, you know how hard the market is though right now with cars.
The market right now.
What the fuck is going on with the market with the cars?
It is one of the actually. So I mean, this isn't something I've gotten into, but one of the first like major connections I made. And there's like I guess like there's kind of 2 favorite people I have to work with. My favorite non like automotive personality is probably that Joey Cacciatore guy, but I would say my favorite person I've ever worked with is a guy named Caesar over at Perillo. I was at and I'll kind of get into like the Lamborghini thing with like the market, but I first want to tell this backstory because like you mentioned Perillo, and I have a long relationship, fortunately, with that dealer group. So there was 2000. It was summer 2017, but I didn't make any money off this, so I didn't mention it as like one of the biggest things that happened. I think you have a picture of this car on the wall actually in your office. There were 2 Lamborghini Centenarios that got delivered. They built 20 coupes, 20 roadsters, and they were the only dealership in the world to deliver a coupe and a roadster side by side. And they posted about it the night before on Instagram. One of their saleswomen did. I saw it at like 10:30, and like I never go crazy over like seeing cars. I was like, okay, 2 Centenarios, like that's never happened before. Like I want to go see that. And so I texted my grandpa at 10:30, praying he'd reply, and luckily he did. And so I managed to convince him, which like to this day, like I thank him like almost every week because it's like he is one of the main reasons like for being so supportive, like that I'm where I am now. Because like when I got there, this guy walks up to me because at that point I was like 16, so like I had a decent looking camera because I'd bought a Specialized lens by that point. And he comes up to me and he goes, you seem like you know what you're doing a little bit. Can you show me some of the shots you've taken? So I showed him 1 or 2. He was impressed enough with them. Gave me his card, gave me his email, and we just kind of talked for a little bit after that. So I don't hear from him for a bit, which is understandable because, like, it's one of those guys you meet, like you just like, you'll hear from every so often just saying like, oh, like happy holidays, that kind of thing. In February of 2018, he texts me and he goes, hey, next month we have a launch party for the Urus. Like, 'cause at that point, the Urus was new, like their big Lamborghini SUV. He texts me like, hey, we have a launch party for this car. and we have like our main photographer. But if you'd like to come on and do some like, separate shots on the side, we'd be happy to have you out.
Yeah.
And so I'm 16 years old, being invited to the launch party where like they have like big name clients here. Mr. Prillo himself was there. He's an insane guy himself. And I'm 16 years old being invited to a Lamborghini launch event, and I'm just like, what is
Mind
going
blown.
on? Yeah, I was mind blown. Like I texted my dad, and he was like, there is no way that just happened. I showed him a text, and he was like, okay, all right. And so it was like a month away from it happening, and I was already like hyped out of my mind.
Yeah.
And the guy liked the shots from that, and so we just kind of like kept like going back and forth, like within a couple months, and he set me up with an internship in Downers Grove where I like did social media shots for them, and I just like did stuff around the showroom. Like I would stock up the refrigerator if we needed water bottles and stuff. I did that summer 2018, and then come January 2021 this year, because like he invited me to a bunch of like big rallies and stuff. I would get to go to the auto show and like shoot for them. But the big thing he did for me this year was in January of this year, up until like late last month, because there was like a new company they're bringing in and they have like some new like envelope they want everything to be under, which is understandable. But from January of this year to October of this year, I was managing their social media pages, like Lamborghini Gold Coast in the city, Prillo BMW in the city, and like just the main like Prillo Auto Group page. It's like where they post about all their brands. And they gave me access to those pages, and I would get to like post on them like my content that I've shot. They would email me like corporate content, and I would have to post like all the corporate stuff. And I would go into their inventory warehouse like once or twice a week, and I would just shoot a bunch of stuff in there, and I would take some stuff up to the roof because they have a pretty decent city view. You can see the Hancock building from their roof, and I would just kind of go up there and shoot and like get some content there. And so, by doing that, that's kind of where the market thing comes back in. Like, being there the entire year doing content this year from January to October, my God, the market's changed. Like this is one of the rare times where buying new is sometimes cheaper than buying used.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like even like they're even factoring in like if you order a Huracan Evo, which like they're like it's the modern version of the Huracan. It's like there's the old version, there's the Evo, it's like a facelift. You order a Huracan Evo these days, you have a $30,000 market adjustment factored in before you even spec it out. So you could buy a base ass white one with silver wheels, do nothing to the interiors, have it be like straight black, and you're still spending $30,000 more as if you put options on it just because of the market.
It's insane.
Yeah.
You think it's gonna go back down? Like
one of the salesmen there who
people are telling me that it's probably just gonna stay like this.
It's gonna stay like this at least another year.
Yeah.
That's the popular thing. Like whether you ask a guy at a Toyota dealer or a Lamborghini dealer, their consensus is that we will see end of 2022 how the market's gonna shake out. But for now, guys like you who want to jump into these entry level exotics, this time last year you'd be like, okay, great, walk in, spend like 60, 70K for an R8. Now it's like, okay, you're shelling out like what used to be a used Huracan for like a V8 Audi R8. Like I'm not saying those are bad cars for that money, but you're not getting what you used to be able to get for the same money.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not at all, dude. Especially like having to adjust and like look and be like, it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
It's a huge fucking difference. So I'm thinking whip wise, and now I'm thinking also because you're so passionate about this. I'm like, dude, this dude crushes this. What are your thoughts on college? Like, what are your thoughts on just basically the whole deal with college? I've done a lot of studying on
so the big thing with college, it's the one thing I will say, and I'm sure Aiden knows this going to Paul, it's fucking expensive. It's like they were nice enough to freeze tuition this year for 1 year, like $65,000 a year. So nice of them. But overall, like for me, it's been a nice experience because I also am a college distance athlete. So it's like in high school, I ran on one of the best cross country teams in the nation for high school, and so I was fortunate enough to like be able to form a strong bond with my teammates. I wasn't always one of the best runners. Senior year I was, but the year that we won state, I was like middle of the roster. So I was like whatever. But we were a really talented team, and so I kind of came out of high school knowing that I wanted to study journalism and I wanted to run. And fortunately, DePaul offered me both those opportunities where I'm now on the cross country and track team. Even though I'm more of like a back of the roster walk on, I'm starting to work my way up a bit.
Now, have you studied the statistics of like subsidized, unsubsidized loans, how it all accrues and how it all affects you, and then like also the unemployment rate? I did some studying in 2017-18, so obviously those statistics might be a little different.
Yeah, because with COVID, everything's different now.
Everything's got to be a lot different. But I remember like the high school, like a high school diploma, which I have, to a bachelor's degree, the unemployment difference was about a 2.5% difference. Mm-hmm. Now the income difference was about $16,000 to $17,000. So with a bachelor's degree, you make about an extra $1,500 a month. But it's a 2% chance with a bachelor's degree opposed to a diploma to get a job. So I was like, why the fuck are these kids going and paying 200 grand?
No, that's a very valid point. Honestly, for me, one of the biggest things keeping me in college is like, I mean, it's not to say like I don't care about school because like I do my work. Like I turn stuff in on time because like kind of like having to deal with a client schedule throughout all of high school, I've like kind of like it's been instilled in like meet your deadlines, get your shit done.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things keeping me in college, truthfully, is running because like we have a really like.
What's your best mile?
My best mile is from junior year of high school because I was injured freshman year of college and senior year of high school. My best mile is 4:33. My
best mile is 5:01 on a treadmill. I don't know if you guys count that.
I mean, nothing to do with a treadmill. 5:01, like not two more seconds, man. Where was that?
I know.
Where was that?
Dude, I literally had to talk myself through it so bad. I don't know if you do like mental talk with like running.
Oh, trust me. Like when you're in the middle of like a fast workout, you're telling yourself like this fucking sucks, but just get through it.
Yeah, just keep pushing. Like I'm a music guy. Anybody that like doesn't do music while they're working out, I think is an absolute sociopath. I'm like,
okay, so I'm a sociopath.
Dude, you can run a 4-minute mile with no music?
You can't run a 4 minute. You can barely run a 4-minute mile to begin with. But
no, I call it a 4-minute mile. 4:30. What'd you say? 4:36.
4:30. I mean, okay, but the difference between 4:33 and 4 flat, you think it's just 30 seconds? It is like years and years. No, I'm serious. It's years and years of training. Like, I mean, I know like it sounds crazy. People aren't runners.
What's the fastest mile in the world?
Shit, I think it's like mid 3:40s, if I'm not mistaken, which is like.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's like running that's like running like think about that. That's like running like 4 laps of a high school track. Like if it was like a track around a football field, that's running like 4 laps of one of those in like 3:45. I don't know whose name it is, but some guy did something crazy.
Dude.
Yeah.
I'm about to look it up.
Yeah, you gotta look up the mile. I hate to admit I'm a college runner.
3:43. What's the dude's name?
Hicham El Guerrero.
Is he black or is he Asian?
I don't know. What's just a Mexican name?
We're very culturally inclusive here.
He's
Moroccan. So we're gonna go.
That sounds about right. Those countries are very good, like Morocco, Kenya.
Yeah,
like they're very strong runners.
Yeah, dude, that's insane.
But yeah, no. So I like definitely one of the biggest things keeping me in college is just like that running environment. Because like our team I mean, the Big East is because that's what DePaul is in. The Big East is a really strong cross-country conference.
So is that D1?
That is D1. So being top 5 in the Big East means something. And for the very first time this year, we finished 5th in the Big East, which is just like
So who was the best runner on the team?
The best runner on our team this year was a kid named Shane Kananashu. I have no idea if Aiden would have heard of him. He's on the front. He's got his picture on our athletic center. And,
are you cool with him?
Yeah, I'm cool with him. He's one of the team captains. He's a he's more of a quiet guy, but he's also a very nice guy.
I wonder if he'd be good on the podcast. I don't know. What's his best mile?
His best mile, I believe, is 4:09.
That's insane.
I don't know exactly.
Who was the best female runner?
Best female runner is a girl named Olivia Borowiak. She's last year she broke a 5K record. Had been standing for like 30-something years.
Oh my god! What's her fastest mile?
I honestly I don't know much about our girls team. I hate to admit, but like I couldn't just rattle off stats off the top of my head. Like I know that like they put in the work and like they have good results. Our coaches are happy with, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head like where they're at. You know.
What's the running shoe you use?
I run in Nike. There's actually an old pair of running shoes I have. These are the Epic Reacts, but these days I run in the Pegasus 37.
Is it important to have a good running shoe?
Yes. I mean, if you're doing it like as more like I don't want to say like a hobby, but if you're doing it more like as just like a passion, like you don't have to have like the crazy shoes. But if you're like pounding the pavement, putting like 50, 60, like that Shane kid puts in like 95-mile weeks over summer training. Like if you're putting in insane weeks, you gotta have something that's gonna like you couldn't be wearing those J's. Like you gotta have something that's gonna like treat your feet right.
Yep.
And so we're in Nike school. We run in Nike shoes mainly, but you've got to have like even within Nike, you have to know like okay which shoe is best.
Now you follow any runners on Instagram? Like I follow like Dave. They're not like avid runners, like they're motivational people, but like David Goggins runs a shit ton. Mm-hmm. He's an ex-Navy SEAL. Awesome dude. He's good for motivational content. You should check it out. And Cameron Haynes. Those are my two guys that I follow that run a lot. Haynes.
I'm not, but I do follow quite a few avid runners.
He'll do like 20-mile days.
Oh, 20
like consistently. Like he'll do like 100-mile weeks as you're talking about this. And I'm like, and he'll work a job kind of like you going to school and he'll just log a 20-mile day.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of it, it's a 3 hour. So it'd be like a gym dude doing a 3 hour, 3-4 hours.
Regardless of how fast you're running, if you're putting in that mileage, like everybody's working, even if you're like regardless of how fast you're going, everybody's working relatively the same.
What do you do for cramps? as a runner like that, you know what I mean?
Even like in a race and you just have like cramps, you just kind of like,
Or like, what if you're like, so like you're putting in a big week, like a 70, 80, 90 mile week. Like if your muscles start to cramp and fatigue and certain things like throughout the week, like I remember maybe it was just like I was building up to it. But like once I started to do a couple miles per week, like my body was adjusting and like sometimes my calves would start to cramp up or like I would, you know what I mean? Like my hamstrings.
yeah. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have a very like strong training room. Like the trainer we work with is probably the most like our coach says he's the only one she's the only one that he would call a genius in the school, and so we're fortunate like if we have some that's like really well, I mean just because like
The professors.
well, no, because like every trainer knows what they're doing, but she's like no matter what sport it is, she can work with them and like diagnose what it is like right away and like get down to the bottom of it. Like I had an ankle sprain last year. I missed ankle.
Yeah.
And you know like I tried like my doctor out in this area over in like Westmont. He gave me some stuff, didn't necessarily work for it. She looked at it and she's like, okay, we're gonna mob you today. And I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, it's just like a way of saying like mobilize. I'm like, what the fuck is she about to mob my ankle? Okay.
Yeah.
And so she started like bending it way like I didn't know you could like twist an ankle that way. And I was like, what is she doing? Within a week she had it fixed. It was crazy ankle sprain. Like for 6 weeks, a guy out here could not fix. And he's a good sports medicine doctor. Like he's worked on like a bunch of my old teammates in the past from high school, but for whatever reason, he just could not solve this. And within a week, she has this crazy ankle sprain fixed.
That's insane, bro.
I've experienced firsthand, like she is just like, she knows what she is doing.
That's insane.
And so like, if we have like something that's like really like tight, or if we have like a minor like pull, she'll just like, you know, put some like, you ever heard of cupping? It's kind of like where you like,
So one of our guys does cupping here.
So she'll, that's funny. You guys have like an insurance company, you guys doing cupping. That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, we do a lot. Well, our company, we build it, you know, being 100% commission and we're hiring 1099 individuals, 80% of our focus is on people putting a significant amount of time and energy into their self-development. So we're really big into reading, working out, taking care of your body, more of like the consumption side of things of like, what are you putting into you? So you can sustain yourself and really be successful because you're 100% fucking commission. So you don't make any money if you don't sell anything. So we're really big into self-development. Copying, I do every day. I'm doing, you know, I hit the gym every day and then I'll do sauna, steam room, cold tub, then shower and head out here.
We have I don't know if we have a sauna. We have like an ice bath and like a hot tub
like an ice bath.
in our place. And so like if we just have something like that, if it's like really bothering us, we'll just go see the trainers. Yeah. But I actually have one of the lower mileage. Like I hit like at my peak last cross season, I was in like 55 a week.
Yeah.
I was like one of the, I mean again, not like sell myself short, but I was like the more back of the roster kind of guys. Like recovering from this major sprain freshman year, like I have like a lot to get back under my legs, and so. I'm happy with how progress has been going.
What's your goals to finish running up wise for your collegiate career?
So I have 2 more years of eligibility left because I didn't like with COVID. I was just like I didn't bother redshirting freshman year. Like I don't know that I want to do a 5th year of school because like you said, it's expensive and also like there's things I could be doing out there. So like I'm not intending to go for a 5th year. And so I've got 2 more years left of cross, 3 more years of track because the season starts up beginning of next year. Yeah. And I would like to be around 4 flat in the 1500, which is like for a full mile, that's like a 4:16, 4:17 roughly. Yeah. I'd like my 5K to be somewhere around 26 flat, which I have a ways to go there. Not my 5K, my 8K. Pardon me. If you're running a 26 flat 5K, you could like run that with like very minimal training because that's not that fast. But I would like my 8K to be, which is like just under 5 miles. I want that to be like 26 flat. On my 5K, I mean, I don't know. That's only a track race, maybe somewhere around like, I don't know, 15.
So what's the best way to like decrease your numbers for long distance running? Is it just more running? Like
honestly, it is more like volume. Where like we put in like crazy tempos. Like just a tempo. It's like
treadmill running or go out. No,
it's like going out and running. Okay. You hit. Like,
but how do you push your like? I feel like treadmill pushes me way more because it's like forcing me to do it opposed to
treadmill is more like a form thing because like it forces you. Like when you're out running, obviously like you're going fast. Like you might trip occasionally, which is how I fucking sprained this. But if you're running on a treadmill, like it keeps you going fast because you're like, if I step wrong, like I'm going off this thing and I'm like going to be tumbling on the floor. So like, I think mentally you're like, okay, I got to be up straight, got to be running. But like when you're outside, you were saying like, how do you like just like push yourself?
Yeah. Like maintaining the consistency. Cause I can think like being outside, like feel like it's hard compared to like a treadmill for you to like sit like a treadmill. Like you're saying, like you're mentally, like you're psychologically just forcing yourself because you
mentally
know.
You're like if I step wrong, like if I let up and like I don't hit the settings, like I'm falling off this bitch. Like that's not gonna go well for me. So when you're outside, you're thinking more just like, okay, like you're thinking like you don't want to let yourself down. Like you want to finish the workout, hit the goal times. Like if you're running in, if you're running in a pack with your teammates, the big thing is like you want to be pushing them and you don't want to come off as like being like soft. And again, like we're very supportive. Like if somebody's having an off day, we don't like criticize them for it. We just like we help them through it. But you know, we just like try to push ourselves because we know we're working for a team. We're working for something like bigger than ourselves, and
Yeah.
that's kind of like something that we like think about as we're working out.
Yeah.
But it's hard the first couple workouts. Like for me, especially coming off a sprain, like figuring out what that pace is without killing yourself.
Yeah.
Because there were a few workouts like in early September of this year where I admit that I was a bit overzealous, where I would like go out really fast. Well, not like that fast, like 540 miles. Like it is fast, but it's not like it's not race pace. I'll put it that way. And I would think, okay, I can hold 540. I'd be like 1.5 miles in like a 4 mile workout. I'd be dead. I'd be okay. Well, now I have to like do like the run of shame back. It's like okay, I killed myself, went out too fast. But you kind of just like you kind of figure it out, and like you between like working with the guys who are like very supportive, and also with like
Does your diet affect your running?
100%.
What do you try to eat? What do you try not to eat?
Well, I try to use as much protein as possible. The thing is, I have peanut and tree nut allergies, so with like a lot of like obviously like peanut butter is a big source of protein. Like I can't eat that at all.
Is it anaphylactic shock?
Yes, anaphylactic shock.
That's what I had
I have
growing
an
up.
EpiPen in my bag actually in the other room.
The epinephrine.
Yeah,
Have you ever had to use it?
Yes, when I was 3 years old. For Halloween, like my parents, like I was starting like my teeth were fully developed, and they're like, hey, you can like try a peanut, and like I hold nothing against them for that because like they didn't know, like there was no history of it in our family. I'm the first one. I have a peanut within like an hour, like hot, like I don't remember any of it because I was 3, but I have like I think a scar up there from where like the hives didn't go away. I like my eyes started swelling up, like my throat closed, like I had hives everywhere.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, she had no idea what it was. So she took me to the hospital. Turned out, you know, I was diagnosed with a peanut allergy, and I've lived with it ever since then. And knock on some wood here, I haven't had anything happen since I was 3 years old. And
That's awesome.
I'm now 20. So we're going on Halloween this year was 17 years without a reaction, which again,
Yeah.
knock on some wood. But yeah, so that's something that like, kind of limits me. The other thing that limits me is my apartment. I have an apartment that's like close to campus. Like it's on Sheffield, Aiden, right by the Ray. I don't know. You ever go to the Ray in Lincoln Park? Yeah. So I live like a block or two from the Ray, and so I'm very fortunate to have that location.
Yeah.
Problem is the appliances are ancient. Like they're probably from when the building was built. It's like we don't have anything digital, and like half the burners don't work, which is no fault against the landlord. It's just like it's old appliances not going to work, and like in order to reinstall it, you have to get so many other things up to code because things we brought to attend, like there's no like elevator or ramps in our building, and it's like there's so much stuff they would have to redo if they were going to do something. Because like the city would be like, oh, you can't do this without doing that. It's just like they just leave everything. It's hard to cook protein stuff because you never know if you're going to be able to cook it all the way. Yeah. Because you don't know if the oven's going to be able to get up to the full temperature. But I guess that's partly my fault. It's like I mostly just like eat microwave chicken, or like I'll occasionally make steaks if I think I'm going to trust the burner that night.
Yeah.
But, it definitely is tough, but I just like I try to eat as much like fruits and vegetables as possible. At least like I'm getting something healthy in.
What do you try not to eat, obviously, other than your allergy?
Well, I mean, a big thing for me is like I started to avoid more salty foods because like obviously like when you're working yourself in high school versus college, like the volume is so much bigger, and it's a transformation I get used to freshman year. And so I've noticed like the more salty foods you eat, like obviously like salt takes away the water in your body, and so I try to eat more minimal salty foods, which is tough because a lot of that's what tastes good, but I have to like limit myself there because like if you go too crazy on that, no matter how much water you drink, you're gonna wake up the next morning and you're just like gonna be in that workout and you're gonna be like, I feel dehydrated, and it's not just from the heat. Yeah. Because you kind of like, I don't want to say like that we're immune to it because like obviously like, if it's a 90-degree day, you're gonna suffer. But like we build up a certain, I don't want to call it like immunity to the heat, but we build up like some resilience with it where it's like if it's like 80 degrees out, we're not gonna like bitch about it that much. Like we're gonna admit like, hey, like we know it's hot and we're working out, but like on one of those days, like your dehydration might catch you by surprise. It may not just be the heat if you eat like too much salty stuff because you just have no water in you. Yep.
So what do you think is like the best thing for you for recovery and being able to like withstand and do all of the running?
Well, the biggest thing for recovery is like something that I will say that like I try to do on the team. Like there's some guys who can recover faster. I can't recover at anything above like below like a 7:15 mile. Like it for me to truly feel recovered, like and this isn't like everybody on our team, so I usually like run more like solo on these kinds of days. Like I need to recover solely because like I need like aerobically. It's not just like your legs, because you can like just go get cupped and stuff like that, which I do a lot. Like aerobically, I feel recovered. Yeah, and that's kind of a big thing.
Now, how did COVID affect everything for you?
That affected me in multiple ways, I will say, because freshman year in the dorms, at DePaul, a lot of the people last year, Aiden, you were a freshman last year, you probably know a lot of people didn't live in the dorms. It was basically just like athletes and like the lucky few who got in because of whatever bullshit they said in their applications. So it was like we had no roommates, no suite mates. So out of the 4 people you could have in your room, there was only one person in your room. And for the first 2 weeks of winter quarter, we had to basically like stay in our rooms the entire 2 weeks. Like we were doing virtual school. You couldn't even go to the front door to get fucking DoorDash delivered. Like if you ordered something, they'd have to bring it up to you. Or in some cases, they wouldn't let you order stuff because they wouldn't open the door for somebody to come in. And so like when you're stuck in that for 2 weeks, I was injured at that point too. So once I got out, I couldn't run. We had to have masks on at practice, so you couldn't like have the same like practice environment.
Yeah.
So just mentally, like freshman year was such an adjustment for me, like getting used to all of it because
Yep.
like COVID, like I mean, COVID took me out of like certain like recovery stuff because like I couldn't go to certain facilities because I didn't feel comfortable having like non-COVID patients in certain like hospital facilities. Like I could have used like a PT center for like my ankle, which like the trainers were helpful with, but like they don't have a full PT place in there. Obviously, it's more like they give me exercise I do like at my place.
Did you know anybody that was like really badly affected by it?
I mean, at DePaul, I can't. Well, it was more. It's like there was. I forget which team it was. There was one team that had like one of their guys went to like a bar to go celebrate his girlfriend's birthday, and he brought COVID back to at the team. I forget which team it was. Like,
But he didn't die. Like you
No,
don't.
no,
you,
like,
did you know anybody that died from COVID?
Fortunately, I do not. And again,
Yeah,
there's a
knock
new
on wood.
variant going around. Knock on some wood. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into the debate of COVID. I don't want to talk about any of that shit.
Oh, okay, because that's where I was going. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it, your
of course.
opinion.
Just like the politics of COVID. It's like I hate how it's become like like left, right. Like just
Yeah.
shut up about it and just like let's deal with it at this point.
Yeah.
But no, I'm fortunate to know nobody who's died from COVID.
Yeah.
I've known some people who had like some pretty tough times with it.
Yep.
One of my friends in like April, like the month after it happened, one of my good friends was put on a ventilator, and I was like, what's gonna happen to him? Because like at that point, like everybody
Yeah.
was scared about it. It wasn't like this thing where it's like, oh, like what are your political views? Like everybody was concerned about it. It's like within the first month of it becoming a thing, like
Yeah.
he was on a ventilator. And I was like, all right, like what is going on here?
Yeah.
He turned out to be fine. He's good now. He's out walking. He hasn't had any of the long COVID symptoms like you can have. But no, one of the biggest impacts I've seen personally, it's just like I've seen the impacts. Like one person brings it back and something goes down.
Yeah.
Like half of, again, I forget which team for the life of me, but half of a team went down last year.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
I haven't known anybody to be like really negatively, like aside from like a cold. So like that's why I'm always
Yeah,
curious because we
of
see
course.
all of these crazy things on the media of like everyone's dying, this, that, and the other,
No,
and then
I do know a guy who's been on a ventilator though, where
Yeah.
it's like it does get that serious. Actually,
Yeah.
one of the Downers Grove commissioners, I don't know if you heard about it, was on a ventilator for a long time. He just
Damn.
came back a couple months ago to start like doing his stuff. But it happened like Christmas of last year. I think he got out in like June or July.
Now, from the statistics that I've read on, it's usually individuals that are a little overweight that are
Yeah,
experiencing
yeah.
worse of it. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, definitely. It is. It's a pandemic of the media will tell you it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. It's
Yeah.
mainly, I mean, I go both ways on it. I think like yes, like again, like I'm not trying to get into the politics of it.
Me either. I hate politics.
I personally, I'm vaccinated. So do what you will with that information. But again, like I also acknowledge like there was a certain thing where it's like if you are overweight, there is again like I'm not fat shaming here. That's,
Yeah.
not what I'm doing. But like if you are overweight, there are certain things you're more susceptible to. And I
Yeah,
think that's
absolutely.
one of them because like your immune system.
Well, the number one
it isn't
killer-
as ready to fight.
The number one killer in the world is heart disease. It's
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. It's not like
Yeah.
any of these like pandemics or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm always curious for me, it's very like it's an open-minded perspective. I
Yeah,
want
of
to I
course,
want to
of
see
course.
like how do you think and what's your perspective? Where
Yeah.
I think where people get into the wrong areas, they almost pretend to be open-minded, get someone else's opinion just to attack them.
Yeah, like
I've
it's
never-
kind of like you say you're open-minded, but then like you watch something on the media and it's like, okay, well if you don't agree with that, you're
Yeah.
you're dead.
You're going to hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. And so as we bring this thing on home, more things that I'm thinking of as we're sitting here and that I want to bring out. And I'm thinking like, we talked about kind of the past, the present, the future, and kind of dived into education and things like that. But I want to kind of get in more of like, what's on your mind and things you want to like that we haven't pulled out that maybe you're thinking like, whether that's with the cars, with the education, with running. We've got a lot of good content so far.
I'm trying to think like you're kind of put me on a spot here because we've covered a lot of what I wanted to cover.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, I guess one of the other things I will say is it just like this past summer, it was kind of like the culmination, I feel like, of everything that I've kind of been like, I don't want to say working towards, but like it felt in a way like it was kind of like the culmination of like everything I've worked on in the past 5 years kind of like came to fruition.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I was connected by somebody who turned out to be a fraud, who claimed he was connected to the owner of that Koenigsegg I was talking about. Like
Yeah.
I shot for that owner. I said shoot it. I'm a journalism major using incorrect English. So I shot for this guy in 2020.
Yeah.
But there was a guy in 2019 who went out to all the big photographers in the area who claims to be the collection manager for that guy. Now there is, speaking of Hamilton, he has a collection manager who I know very well.
I didn't even know what the fuck a collection manager was until you told me.
It's somebody who just like looks after your cars, like make sure they're like, if they have to go to service and the guy's busy, like he'll take them there. Or like he tracks the mileage on them to see how far they've gone a certain week. Like if one car's been being driven too much, maybe you like put that one away so like you don't like kill it too early so you can enjoy it with more longevity. But there was a guy who claimed to be this guy's collection manager, which turned out to be not true. But up until like July, nobody knew. So for 2 months, he was going out saying whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
And one of the things he did was get me to connect him with this guy out on the East Coast, a different guy than I was talking to with the YouTuber earlier. But he connected me with this guy. He got me to connect him with this guy out there about bringing some of the guys' cars to the shoot that they have. On Instagram, if you follow Sparky18888, he's a big collector. He has 3 Paganis. He has one of the 25 Agera RSs. He's also got
And is he around here?
No, he's in Connecticut. He's also got a couple of Lamborghini Aventadors. One of them is the only Lamborghini with blue carbon fiber in the world. And he, sorry, you can.
Doesn't Hamilton have a Countach?
Yes. He was offered a chance to get the new Countach, and he actually flew out to New York for it through Perillo. I was kind of like one of the guys who like.
I heard they're doing a new Countach. How many are they going to do?
They're building 111 of them, and I believe.
Are any coming to Chicago?
The lottery winner's getting one. Hamilton had a chance to, but he passed because he didn't think it was worth 2-point-something million. There was no wing on it. He likes his wings. If you talk to him, you will learn that on
wings
a car,
on like the tail, you mean?
Yeah, like just like a big spoiler wing type thing. He likes those. He likes putting aftermarket wheels and stuff. And the new one, it felt kind of like an Aventador, which he has an Aventador. You'll learn he hates his Aventador, even though it was one of his first supercars. And so he didn't like what it was based off of. He didn't like the price. He didn't like there was no wing on it. He just didn't go for it. But he had a chance to buy one. But yeah, so speaking of like Lamborghinis, the guy out in Connecticut has 2 of them. He got the only Lamborghini in the world with factory blue carbon, like where Lamborghini themselves like tinted the carbon fiber blue, because you can have it modified to be that, but from factory can mean something.
Yeah.
And so he got me to connect him with this guy who like he hosts like there's this charity event out in Connecticut called Dream Ride.
Yeah.
And it's like it started as something for the Special Olympics. Like they would get a bunch of supercar owners together on the polo fields out in Farmington, Connecticut, and they would kind of like host a massive like charity event where it's like, they raise money for the Special Olympics. They take all like they call them the Dream Riders. Like they take the Special Olympics kids out for rides in these crazy cars.
Yeah.
Just give them a weekend to remember. And so he got me to connect him with the guy who hosts like a crazy party at his house called the Castle, which is like it's actually very unfinished inside. It's like maybe half done, but like from the outside, it's
so you were up in Connecticut doing all this.
It's a mind blowing property, and so I'm gonna get to that in a second. It's kind of a long backstory. So I connected this fraudulent guy with these people for 2019 with the intention of getting them into this party. About a week or 2 before the shoot is when it comes out that, hey, this guy is not legit. So I apologized to them. And then privately, the dude messaged me who knows the owner of the house. He said, he was like, hey, I feel bad. You put in all this work. You've been a good, honest guy. You've been upfront about like everything that you think you're connected with. And he was like, hey, do you want to come out anyway?
What the hell?
And I was like, okay, like, because I was going to be an important guy there because I would have like connected them with this crazy like big guy in the area. But at that point, I was like, okay, at that point, I was 17. I was like, I'm some 17-year-old photographer like from Chicago coming out. I was like, okay, like if you're willing to have me, I will come out. But I looked at it and it was going to be we were going to fly out there. It was going to be a 36-hour trip. And with saving up for college and also kind of like looking into like new camera equipment, I was like, I don't know if I want to be spending this money now. It was a cool opportunity, but I ultimately said no. The plan was to go in 2020. COVID hit. They only hosted the party with people from the area because Connecticut, New York, they had some of the strictest COVID stuff.
Yep.
This summer, I had a chance to go again. And I planned a road trip with 2 of my friends from the area. And it was one of the craziest weekends of my life. And it was like I was there because what this party is, it's like all the manufacturers like Bugatti, Pagani, Koenigsegg this year didn't do anything because there was a hurricane that hit, so the last day was canceled. And so the cars they were going to bring to this guy's party were needed at the main show. But like all of these big hypercar manufacturers, like they sponsor the show, and it's like their big East Coast event of the year. And it was like being on the driveway where it's like everybody there is somebody, and it's like just being being a normal 19-year-old kid in the driveway with like, because my birthday was like a week after, being in the driveway with like these crazy like millionaires, billionaires, so, like I didn't even know who they were, but like the cars are on that driveway. Never seen anything like it. There were 7 Bugattis there, 4 Ferrari LaFerraris, probably like
What the fuck?
almost a dozen Paganis.
Have you ever seen that YouTube video of like the prince from another country in the LaFerrari and he's just wrecking it everywhere?
Yeah, the dude in Beverly Hills, the yellow one, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, but he has like police immortality or something.
Yeah, he's got so that they couldn't charge him. All they could do was just say you're not allowed back at the hotel. So they just told him he couldn't park his cars nearby where it was, and that's all they could do. And he just went to a different hotel and parked in there. It was so
What
fucking
the
funny.
hell?
But no, this place in Connecticut was insane. There was so his LaFerrari was yellow, and it's a pretty rare car in that color. There were 2 yellow LaFerraris in this one driveway.
Dude, what the hell?
And this was like the most like insane weekend of my life.
Now, who was the richest person there?
I don't fucking
idea.
know. I mean, like, it's just like, because, I mean, you're seeing these cars and you're like, you have no idea who owns them. Because, like, some of the guys are on Instagram, but they only talk cars. Like, in this area, I kind of have more of an idea as I've, like, worked my way up. Like, I know guys like Steve and guys like the one-to-one owner, and, like, Ken Griffin's kind of like the top because he's the richest guy in the state. But, you know who the rich guys are in this area. But in Connecticut, I'm like, okay, Connecticut's a hedge fund state. I'm willing to bet most of the guys are involved in that because, like, it's the old East Coast money, that kind of thing. But it's just like the people that were there were really nice, and they're going to invite me back next year, I believe, which is going to be incredible. And just like the fact that I've got to be involved with that through something that turned out to be fraudulent, but then they kept me on because they believed in me for this year. It was like that felt like being able to be at an event like that with the page that I built is just like that feels kind of like the culmination, even though I'm going to still keep building, of everything that I've kind of worked for. Like that was the first time in my life where I felt like I'm building something that's being like recognized, not just it felt like not like there's a weight on my shoulders. Like I have a bit of a presence now that like, I'm like I said, like I'm a normal kid who like people gas up quite a lot. Yeah. And, like I've gotten to the point where it's like, I'm looking at myself now as like, I've become something where it's like, I'll have people like in September and October after I got back from that event, I had people approach me at car shows like, how did you get into that guy's event? And I was like, I helped a guy who wasn't legit get into. I was like, I don't know what to fucking tell you guys, but it's just like the fact that something like that happened when I was still like young enough where it's like I don't feel like I'm like in my 30s already, where it's like okay, you're kind of like past your prime, so to speak. Just like for that to have happened, it's just like mind blowing, and that's kind of like that's the one thing we didn't touch on was kind of like it feels like everything came together at that point.
Now, outside of your passion, do you have any other like hobbies, like things you're like that's like a go-to? Like for me, I like movies. That's the only thing outside of working out and eating. Just movies.
Eating is a hobby. I like that.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is, man. I mean, you're
like kind of like a food connoisseur. I like
to. You kind of like going to different restaurants.
Yeah, like I've gone to all like any nice restaurant in Chicago you can name. I've probably been there.
You've been okay. The one restaurant I'm curious about. You've been in Nobu.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? I know again. I'm asking the interviewer questions, but like it's really expensive. Is it worth the price?
I didn't think so. I mean, it was good. I didn't think so. I'm like a really big dessert guy. I think still like I just go to the Capitol Grill.
Yeah,
right
Capitol
here.
Grill's,
it's real consistent. It's real easy. But I've done like everything down there. There was one place dinner probably cost me $3 or $4 grand. It was really.
Hopefully you weren't alone.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. No, we had like 5 or 6 people, okay. But and I forget the fucking name of it. But I've been to the rooftop place, the 95th or 96th floor.
Yeah, the rooftop of the 95th or something like that.
Been there a couple times. Food, it's all right. It's a good look.
It's all right.
It's a good view. I can't think of the place where we dropped some bands. But it was good. That was like number 2. But I like the Capitol Grill over here. They take care of me. I got a wine locker there, and they'll come over and shit like that and bring food over. But it's like, so it's the hospitality and the consistency and then the ease. I hate traffic and shit. So like I rarely come down to the city.
I was gonna say you would hate the city.
I rarely come down there.
On top of the traffic, people drive like idiots. Like that's the other thing is like when I was interning at Gold Coast, I was one of the porters who like if my boss is listening to this, like this definitely did not happen 100%. This is like I'm just telling this for a fact. One of the porters offered me a chance to drive like one of their like Uruses over just the gas station like a half mile up the block, and I was like thanks for the opportunity. If it was in the suburbs at Downers, I would have said yes because they have a location in Downers too. That's the other place.
I stood on top of an Urus on a highway going 80 miles per hour in Miami.
That is insane. That sounds. I was like, you were either in Miami or you were in LA. And we were in Miami. Somebody was recording you.
Yeah, we rented Urus or Urus?
It's pronounced Urus.
Urus.
Whatever. It
We
doesn't matter how you say it,
we
but-
rented an Urus. Ever since I started selling insurance, I started renting Lamborghinis. My love for cars started with my dad before he went to jail. Both my parents went to jail. I grew up broke as fuck, kind of like this, this Steve guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't as like his parents going to jail. It was like they didn't have enough to make ends meet because it's 4 people. Anyway, whatever. So you're telling your backstory.
Yes. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll get this dude on the podcast and I'll get his story. But so he had a Corvette though before he went away. So he had a Corvette and that was like a little seed. And then it wasn't until my interview with this company, and this was at the point like we were so poor, like, we were food bank lines, all that, you know what I mean? The whole nine. And I go to this interview and I'm like, dude, I have a high school diploma. I was expelled. I have an online high school diploma because I finished being expelled in the 10th grade.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I got this PA Cyber high school diploma. I got nothing going for me. And I got this automated response email from a sales company. I was like, let me go check this out. Go in there with this cheap hand-me-down suit. And this big fucking dude on roids just does my interview. And he's like, what do you know about selling insurance? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, step outside. Let's go for a ride real quick. And he pulls around in a Maserati Gran Turismo? Yeah, just a 2-door Maserati. I think it was
in my
16,
opinion, the last
17.
great Maserati. Now they've gone to shit. Like that Levante. Again, my boss is listening. Sorry, because we sell those. I don't like those.
Yeah.
They feel like Chryslers. Anyway, so like the Gran Turismo were the last great Maseratis, in my opinion.
It was the nicest fucking thing I'd been to up until that point. And I was so hungry and sold, dude. And I got in. And then it really went to another level where I was about in a year into selling insurance. And then my manager was at the 720S now. So essentially, like, he taught me everything in the business. His name's Brody. He's going to absolutely love this. He's obsessed with cars. So he's actually close with a dude that's got an SVJ and a jet. So out in Pittsburgh.
That's sick.
That's it. Yeah, it's kind of like a step up there. You probably know people with jets though, with all these billionaires you're talking about.
I've never been in one. I've never asked to go in one. Cause like again, I'm not about like flexing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything I didn't touch on. I was like, I'm not about like flexing. Like
Yes.
I do some crazy shit. But
It's
like,
organic
I
and
don't
passionate.
flaunt it. Yes, it's
Yeah.
organic and passionate.
I
Exactly.
love that. And that's what's making you pop, is just working in those two realms right there. So, and then so a year into being in the insurance industry, and he was about 4 years in, and he got an F-type. So he got an F-type, and it was black, and then he put like these custom wheels on it because his brother does a wheel shop, and they were like bronze kind of gold. And just the pop and how loud and how fast. Like I remember being in the passenger seat and the F-Type felt fast to me. It was an F-Type R. So it was probably like 500 horsepower where the F-Type.
Only 500, Yeah,
exactly.
Only 500.
But I think of his McLaren.
Yeah.
But I think of his McLaren, and his McLaren has a tune. I don't know if it's a stage 1 tune.
Yeah.
But he's damn near pushing 1,000 horsepower or something.
No, but think about 720 is like that's like a lot of these hypercars talking about like it will beat a lot of those in a drag race from you don't even have to do anything to it from factory. The way McLaren built it, it'll beat a lot of these cars in a drag race. It's so fast. And it is a hypercar for supercar price. Again, going back to the debate, I wouldn't call it a hypercar, but it's on that level of performance for a lower price.
That feeling is one of my favorite feelings when you're sitting in the seat and you just pedal to the metal and you stick.
Like you're glued to the seat.
That is one of my favorite fucking feelings. I love that adrenaline, and I'm kind of notorious for like driving and I'll drive and like hang out of the drive, and if I can't really get in trouble, but like I'll drive, I'll do some. I love adrenaline. You know what I mean?
If you got a video later, show me. I don't know if you want to listen to the podcast.
I will.
But
I'll show you. So I love adrenaline, skydiving, and all that. But that's my love for cars. That kind of and then a year after that, my first Jaguar was the sedan. It was not an F-Type, XFS.
XFS. Okay.
So I got an XFS, wrapped it with a vampire matte red, and I put gold wheels on it.
Gold wheels are a must.
Giovanna wheels, decent wheels. I do all my wheels through Brody's brother, and shout out Wheel Connection.
Unfortunate. You're going to be interviewing a wheel guy and saying you're doing your wheels with somebody else. That's going
to be weird. Yeah, because I'm really big with like loyalty and like the relationships,
of course.
Brody and like everything he's done for me in the insurance industry, and his brother's just I'm going to try to get them to come out here. We're going to take a jet and go out hopefully to a Lakers game. They're changing their stadium to crypto. I don't know if you look at it in crypto shit. Crypto.net.
I mean, I know a guy in the city, funny enough, who's like he made like 15 million recently off crypto.
Holy
he's got an
fuck.
SVJ and this like.
What's his name? We got to follow him.
He's his Instagram's @oil.
@oil. Do you know this guy? Let's shoot him DM, see if we can get him on here. So
he's crazy on Instagram. He's married to some like he's dating some like million follower like plastic supermodel. Well, I don't know if she's supermodel or not,
Yeah.
but she's like she barely speaks English. She just got her like she's got approved for legal citizenship.
Let's go.
Earlier this year.
Let's
but
go.
He's insane. Speaking of crypto, you can make a lot of money off that, but
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't
personally.
make nothing except
I
insurance.
don't touch it. Yeah.
Yeah. So F-Type, then I had the XFS. I had that for a month, did some work on it, and then wrapped it around a tree. So this lady cut me off, and I put an intercooler in. And I was like, it started to whistle, and I'm like on a back road in Lincoln, Nebraska, and fucking.
All right, though, if you're doing some proper B road driving, and that's like you're getting into it like that, you can get in some trouble really fast.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and it's a one-way, 2-lane road, and I'm in the right lane. I'm going to pass this lady, and she completely from the right lane turns left. Doesn't just merge left, turns left. I have to completely avoid her. Like GTA, I run off the road ramp, like smash it. I'm like,
Yeah.
It was I ended up spending $50,000 to repair the car.
And unlike in GTA, you can't hit rewind and try it all over again.
Yeah,
Like, you're
dude.
stuck with your $50,000
Yeah.
damage.
And then a month later, so I start the process of basically dishing out 50 racks to fix that car, which is worth 50 racks.
Yeah,
which was still
you're paying market value for it.
and which was still because of the market that we're in, which is still more than what it was really worth. So when I went to, I mean, I lost like $100,000 on this car. So that was a horrible. It was a good. Everything's a lesson.
Good financial lesson there. Don't buy an XF and wrap it around a tree.
Don't buy an XF.
That's super fair, honestly.
Yeah, and then
There's better Jaguars.
yeah, dude. So then I get the F-Type like a month later. I love the F-Type for a while, but I get the F-Type, and Brody was in the process, I think, of getting the McLaren, but he had just had an R8, and that's what I want next.
Yeah.
He had an R8 with a Soul exhaust. That was the loudest car.
I've heard one with a Soul exhaust. Oh,
The
my God.
loudest car, dude, that I was like, this is fucking amazing. I just love cars. If for me, like my vision, like regardless of how rich I get, I would be cool with just putting a garage like onto my office and then just like living out of the garage and working. You know what I mean? Like just kind of, I've been seeing these guys have like Irontown condos where they'll like
Iron Gate, yeah.
Iron
Iron
Gate.
Gate motor condos.
Yeah, and they'll
Steve
set up-
Steve has one.
that's what. So I've seen he's got one. I think the other wheel dude has one, and then one of our
Yeah.
guys here, I think he was looking into getting one.
Really?
So I was like, all these guys are like building up these I was like, that's what I want, just like a garage
Yeah.
that I could live in. Because one of our guys here has a really nice boat, like really fucking. I'm not into like boats.
Yeah,
I like
I
jet
mean,
skiing, but
I'll ride in a guy's boat if
Yeah.
they invite me. Like I don't know much about boats.
yeah, me either. So getting into real quick, I want to end with 2 questions. Do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie, honestly, it changes a lot. One of my favorite movies is like I don't remember the plot of it because I haven't seen it in a while, but I love Good Will Hunting. If you've seen that movie,
Dude, what is it?
It's one of Matt Damon's first movies. Used to watch it all the time when I was in my teens. I haven't watched it much recently, but that's I think my favorite movie of all time. Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite movies.
Yep. Now, favorite. Sometimes I ask people favorite song, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not that into music." Is there a music type? Is there an artist? Is there a genre?
Honestly, one of my favorite songs, just because of like the local connection, is there's a song called "Heaven Only Knows" by a guy named Tokyo, and
Yeah.
I Chance to represent it too. It was kind of cool because you know, like
curious.
first of all, like we
I'm gonna
used
put it
this
down.
song senior year. Me and one of my friends, we edited together a video. Like
Yep.
just go mess around video with like a bunch of like phone videos of everything with senior class did up until COVID hit. Because like
Yep.
being a senior in high school, Aiden and I both kind of know. Like when COVID hit, like just nobody knew it was gonna happen. So we kind of made a memories video using this song. And actually, I was at one of Perillo's events in April, and the guy who wrote that song ended up being there. And so I showed him that video, and he was like really excited about it. And I was like, the fact that like I was fortunate enough to meet the guy who wrote this song, and also just like it's a good song by itself.
Yep.
Like I think that's my favorite song for those reasons, just like because of like the value it holds for me.
Yes.
It's like a sentimental value in terms
Yes.
of like
Yes.
like
The
using it-
experience with the
using-
song.
not just like meeting like it doesn't matter like meeting the guy, like he's a cool guy, like even
Yeah.
without meeting him. It was like we use that for our senior video, and it like,
Yeah.
that kind of like there's a certain sentimentality to it. Because when you go back and watch that video, you're gonna hear that song obviously.
Are you into books? Do you have a favorite book?
I haven't. I admit that I don't like. I read more like online news now, like newspapers. I admit I don't read as much as I used to.
Favorite-
One of my favorite books, honestly, the Lord of the Rings series.
I
is,
love
like,
the movies.
The movies are good, but the books are tough. I read them when I was in like 8th grade. That is some proper English there.
I like The Hobbit. I read those books.
Yeah. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, those are all like good books. But I would say like, the Lord of the Rings, my favorite
Favorite?
books to read when I was younger. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But yeah, no, I mean, like yesterday, I think on the phone you mentioned you were reading like one of Elon. After I talked about the Joe Rogan thing, you were mentioning you were reading one of like the books Elon used to read.
So I read a book. I've been reading a few books. Well, essentially, I gathered up the top 10 favorite books from Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Weekly, I'm trying to get into a new book because I'm not as naturally as intelligent as everybody else in this room. It's taken a lot for me to build up
it's
to
fine.
this.
I mean, you've gone from being expelled to working in a fucking insurance company. And
Yes.
doing well, I mean, there's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and a lot of it's just having the right people. And again, like, I don't fuck with the flex and the ego and shit. It's just right people, great company, and right mentorship and things like that. But definitely the self-help, self-development. And with that, so like one of the most intricate and in-depth books I've read this year is called Super Intelligence, and it's on artificial intelligence. And dude,
that's going to be insane when it comes out.
yeah, dude. I mean, that's a whole other, hour we could get into of like just how deep that shit is. It's insane. But though, as we wrap up, the book I'm actually reading right now, I recommend everybody check out, is Steve Jobs, and it's like his autobiography. I don't know the actual author, but it's a good long book, but it's good. It gets really in depth, talking about Jobs being adopted and acid and his explorative mind. And my buddy, he did ayahuasca. I did a podcast with him, and just the psychedelics and certain things like that, and exploring that kind of spirit realm. With business owners is pretty unique to me. You'd be surprised on like how open-minded and like spiritually and emotionally intact these people are. But as we wrap up, let's bring it back home to, what do you want to advertise? Because I was actually looking at the metrics. We actually have some way more viewers than I imagined for only 4 or 5 podcasts out. So what do you want to get out there?
I mean, I guess the biggest thing I want to get out there is like, despite everything we've talked about, I do not advertise myself as like one of the biggest guys in the area, because like if you look at my following, it would suggest that. If you look at the content I'm putting out, it would suggest that. But as a person, I don't see myself as that, because I never enjoy being in a mindset where I feel like I've mastered something. Like, to kind of wrap up again, like I bought a new camera recently and I'm kind of like looking to elevate my content with that. But one of the reasons I bought the new camera, in addition to like my old one being 6 years old and a piece of shit at this point, I'll go ahead and say it, is because like I never liked being in a mindset of like complacency where you feel like you're settling. And I felt like I was kind of like at my max with what I could do with that camera. And so I didn't want to feel like I was a master of my craft when really I'm a master of a starter camera. I don't want to feel like I'm that good when I don't have the right equipment. And so like I hated the mindset of like, oh, I feel like I'm becoming good at what I'm doing. Well, okay, then buy a better camera and challenge yourself more. Yeah. And so I kind of always want to get across that like, yes, I am a big name in the area, but I don't treat myself as a big name, nor do I see myself that way, because I just don't want to get into that. Like, I don't want to get caught up like the clout of it, because people have accused me of that. And I'm like, well, okay, like come shoot with me and I'll show you what I'm actually about. Yeah. Hell and, like, that kind of changes the perspective, because like I hate the stigma of social media, where it's like, if you're like the influencer thing, I'm not an influencer. Yeah. People with my follower count consider me an influencer. I'm not a fucking influencer. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm all about creating long-lasting relationships, because like we talked about on the phone yesterday, was kind of the last thing I'll finish off with, is like, for me, I'm not about like what can this client do for me, like how can they make me look better. It's how can I add some sort of value to them, and how can we grow together, and like what lasting relationship can be made there, besides just like, hey, I'm doing some content for you, I'll never see you again. Like, how can we make that have some more longevity to it? Hell yeah, bro. And that's kind of like what I want to get across.
Absolutely. Fire. So obviously he didn't shout it out, but I wanted him to. Is again, check out his IG.
Again, like I'm not the kind of guy who's like, oh yeah, check me out. But
check him out though, man. He ain't gonna fucking say it. But Chi-Town Exotics, check him out. Great footage. If you guys want to, talk to him, whatever you want to do for photography, you know what I mean. Hit him up, man. Get him.
My
out.
DMs are open. I check my requests semi-frequently, but all that Russian porn link stuff.
Make it look legit. Don't send
Make it look
no.
legit. Make it look legit. I'm not clicking your link if you send me something.
Yeah, some weird ass shit. So thank you everybody. Andy Thompson, thank you, bro. I'm excited to grow our relationship, bro.
Thank you for having me out. It was, I mean, like we said, 2 days ago we met, and now here we are.
Here we are, bro. So
thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.